Hey, Raider! Arc Raiders comes to us from Swedish developer Embark Studios, creators of the destruction-heavy first-person shooter The Finals and founded by former employees and leaders from EA's DICE studio. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where humanity is run underground after an invading mechanized force called Arc essentially takes over Earth. In this new normal, survivors called Raiders make risky journeys up to the surface, referred to as going topside, to search for materials and resources to keep their underground collective running. You are one of these raiders, and gameplay represents your topside adventures in search of goodies. Arc Raiders is what's known as an extraction shooter. The core gameplay loop consists of scavenging a map for supplies, collectibles, and objectives, extracting from the area to secure your loot, managing your inventory and loadout, and going back in for more over and over and over again. These games are typically played as PvPvE, or player versus environment, where you'll be interacting with both other people and enemy NPCs on the map. If you get killed, either by a player or the world, you'll lose everything you came in with, and you'll need to start from scratch when you drop in again. The extraction shooter genre has grown wildly in recent years with lots of focus from studios of all sizes, in part because it appeals to that universal instinct of doing the best you can with what you've got on hand, and that itself is inherently addicting. As you scavenge, items slowly reveal themselves like a slot machine. What will you find? Will it be useful to you? Every container you look through has that little bit of excitement attached. Getting just a little bit stronger, having a little more of something in reserve, getting a little closer to a critical upgrade, they're all powerful motivators, and this game naturally has that in spades. Now you might be thinking, well, lots of games do this, and a loot loop is the foundation of every game in this genre. What makes Arc Raiders so special? Well, it's probably best summarized in a few different ways. Let's start with the mechanics. While you won't be shooting all the time, combat is precise, visceral, and oh so satisfying. There's a reasonable variety of guns, grenades, and other tactical items, and they're all really fun to wield. The sounds everything makes are particularly great, and much of this is thanks to the game's excellent audio design in general. Considering the studio's roots at DICE and those older Battlefield games, maybe this isn't surprising. Sound effects are punchy, thoughtful, and very immersive, helpful when you're always watching your back and taking in your surroundings. Their directionality is very powerful and further helps you keep track of what everything and everyone around you is doing. Firefights and arc activity bleed through walls when you're indoors, shots crackle and echo far off in the distance. It's wonderful. Speaking of Arc, those robot enemies are powerful, smart, and threatening. No matter how kitted out you are, even a single drone can wipe the floor with you if you're caught off guard or not prepared to fight it. You have lots of options for tactical engagement though. For example, shooting out rotors on a drone can cause it to spiral into a wall or shoot a shock that would have killed you off into the air somewhere. The game also uses machine learning to make these robots better adapt to your combat style and engage with you, which keeps encounters both fresh and sufficiently unpredictable. This can cause some frustration though. Rolling bots in particular are very hard to target if you're using a controller, to the point where it almost feels unreasonable. Enemies often roll out from behind a corner or seemingly spawn in behind you, giving you very little chance to react or defend yourself at times. Recklessness feeds into this to a degree. It's your fault if you blindly charge into a room, but when you have no opportunity to prepare for something through no fault of your own, it's those moments and the deaths that follow that serve to annoy and demotivate. At the same time, though, it's those moments that make every step of your journey topside so magnetic and engaging. You never know what's around the next corner. You never know when a player will come sprinting by, and you never know if they'll be friend or foe. You always need to be on your toes, aware of your surroundings, considering your backup plans and escape routes if something goes down. Once you're back underground, a lot of satisfying progression systems kick in. Resources and gear found in the world can be recycled into other components or sold off for money, which you can spend with various vendors on things you can't find or craft yourself. Leveling up grants you skill points that improve your mobility, scavenging, or potency in combat. Guns themselves can be upgraded across a few levels, and there are multiple tiers of rarity and power for each of their myriad attachments. Workbenches and crafting stations have their own leveling system and gear requirements for doing so. Shared world objectives offer their own set of rewards, and a trials system provides specific challenges and competitive leaderboards for those who want to take the gameplay deeper. This is all pretty standard stuff, but the rarity and scarcity of materials in particular is nicely balanced. Every trip out into the world has value, and you're almost always in need of something to motivate yet another journey topside. Ultimately though, where the game truly shines is how it packages all of these mechanics to make what is an inherently stressful genre more enjoyable. And much of this comes from its unique aggression-based matchmaking system. This system will drop you into shared sessions with players who are not just of similar skill levels and ability, but also similar play styles. If you're someone who prefers more competitive gameplay, just kill a couple players in-game and you'll start sharing the world with others who will also shoot on sight. If you prefer to mind your own business, focus on looting, and take out the occasional arc bot, keep your finger off the trigger, and you'll be surrounded by those who mostly do the same. You're never guaranteed to be safe from other players though, and that's a good thing. Every encounter with someone else in the world needs some kind of tension or uncertainty about it, where the gameplay loop kind of falls apart. The appeal of an extraction shooter is the risk, however large or small, of losing everything you have at any given time. And this system strikes an exceptional balance between maintaining that sense of risk and preventing the game from feeling too frustrating or unfair, especially for less skilled players or those who would otherwise struggle with shooters. And this is a really important distinction. Lots of other games in this genre heavily emphasize their PvP and combat mechanics, to the point where pretty much every player encounter results in a deathmatch whether you want it to or not. The Arc Raiders community is seemingly more docile by comparison. If you want it to be, that is, and the ability to more or less define how tense and sweaty your experience is makes all the difference in the world. On a side note, there's your expected suite of battle passes and priced cosmetics, but these features very much exist on the periphery and never make you feel like you're missing out or somehow at a disadvantage without them. For context, we're nearly 40 hours in as we record this, and we've never once felt compelled to dig in here because of how much there is to do in the rest of the game. If you don't want to engage with them or spend beyond the game's initial $40 price of entry, there's zero pressure to do so. And maybe not much incentive either, as the customization options are fairly muted and limited compared to other games. This makes sense thematically, but those who put a premium on this kind of player expression may be a bit disappointed. Still though, there's a ludicrous amount of fun to be had here, and this is probably the most accessible extraction shooter you're gonna find. The game may not completely reinvent the genre, but it executes on its fundamentals incredibly well, and all of its thoughtful quality of life touches make it something special. You never feel like you're being strung along as a player or fighting through a million cluttered menus urging you to buy things. That sort of experience is getting pretty hard to find in games like this, so sad as it sounds, that ability to simply jump in and play with so little friction is a joy in and of itself. So when you put it all together, Arc Raiders gets 4.5 Gloobies out of 5. It's that rare example of a large-scale multiplayer experience that's both wildly addictive and entirely player-first. Even if you suck at extraction shooters or aren't intimately familiar with the genre, this one is worth every penny. You don't have to fire a single shot to have fun. Arc Raiders is available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC. Thanks so much for watching. Stay fresh, cheese bags. We'll catch you back here real soon.